LIFEBEAT, Conversations with Purposeful Women. This is, oops, whoa, what happened? Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. This is episode number 6. I'm your host, Lizzie Wann. I am on Puna Press, on the author roster for Puna Press, which is a poetry press in San Diego. My book is The Hospice Bubble and Other Devastating Affirmations. I'm going to read something from it in a couple minutes, but first I'm going to give my personal statement. First of all, I'd like to wish love and heat and power to all of my people in Texas. Hang in there, everybody. I'd also like to say Black Lives Matter. Science is real. Please wear a mask, social distance, wash your hands, get your vaccination. Women's and LGBTQ rights are human rights, and where I sit right now, I am on Keech or Tongva land. So I'm going to read a poem and then I will introduce my guests. This is from my book, and this is called The Ballad of Richard and Mildred. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about loving. A young woman loves a young man. They share each other's most significant spaces. Sweet intimacies create a baby. They choose to marry. But Richard is white. Mildred is African American, part Rappahannock. It is 1958 in Virginia, where their love is miscegenation and illegal. This is about love. This is about loving. They go to D.C. where that law doesn't exist. They marry. They go back home. A month later, as they sleep, in their wedded bliss, police raid their house, hope to catch them in another illegal act, are disappointed when they don't. Richard and Mildred are arrested, put in jail. To avoid their 1-year sentence, they agree to leave their home in Virginia for 25 years. This is about love. This is about loving. For 5 years, they live away from home, travel secretly back and forth to visit their families. Finally, Mildred has had enough. She writes to Robert Kennedy. He refers her to the ACLU. They take the case, file a motion that their sentence violates the 14th Amendment. They go all the way to the Supreme Court. This is about love. This is about loving. On June 12, 1967, a unanimous decision concludes miscegenation laws are racist. This is about love. This is about Richard and Mildred, who were not radicals. They were just in love, had a family, wanted the basic right to live together as husband and wife, regardless of the color of their skin. This is about love. This is about Richard and Mildred. This is about Mr. and Mrs. Loving. All right.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. All right, so now let's introduce the guests. First off, we have Lisa Sanders and Karen Brown Sugar Hayes. Lisa is one of San Diego's legendary singer-songwriters. She's released 9 albums, I want to say.
10 coming.
And is beloved by fans around the world. Karen is a nurse, and she also sings backing vocals for Lisa, and the two make a dynamic duo. They are based in Escondido, California. We have Haley White. She is an interdisciplinary artist who works primarily as a filmmaker, theater practitioner, producer, and writer. Her practice is based around the belief that art can be used as a transformative tool for healing, for growth, and for change. She's the founding creative director for the Fools Collaborative out of Fresno. In 2020, she graduated with her MFA in Interdisciplinary Arts, and she currently works with United Way of Fresno and Madera counties. She is based in Fresno, California. Welcome, Haley. And finally, we have Sarah Bacerra, who is a human lover, inclusion pusher, learning and performance leader, certified high-performance coach, and certified disc trainer. She is the learning and development manager for Soapy Joe's, has her own consulting business, and she's the vice president of the San Diego Women's March. She is mom to Lily and Ruby. She identifies as multiracial and as part of the LGBTQ plus community, and she is based in San Diego, California. Welcome. How are you all doing?
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Be here. Thank you, Lizzie.
good
Yeah.
to be here.
So I always start off with lightning round of questions that everyone will answer. So the first question is, do you have any pets? And if so, tell us about them. Let's start with Haley.
I don't have any pets, but I love animals. I'm just not responsible enough yet.
All right, Sarah.
We have a dog. We got a COVID puppy. Her name is Sunday, like the day, not the ice.
Oh, I love that.
There was some battle there. And we got her in April of 2020, and she has been a blessing for sure for my two daughters and just us generally. It's nice to have that unconditional love without the anxiety.
Yeah, very cute. Lisa, Karen, do you guys have pets?
I don't have any that I am responsible for, but I'm around them all the time. My two houses, I'm at a ranch that has 2 dogs and 3 cats in the house, and 2 dogs and a bunch of cats outside, and a pig, a goat, horses,
And a
miniature
duck.
horses, and a duck.
Affleck, the duck.
Yeah. And then at my other house, there's a dog named Ruby that I've been with her since she was a pup. So they're mine. I just don't have to do shot, food, but I am
the vet.
Or the vet. You know, I am the food source because I always bring the cookies and sneak the snacks when the parent says, "Don't give them anything."
Yeah. We drive around with a container of doggy biscuits and cat nibbles. So when I drop her off at work, they all come out like she's Dr. Doolittle, and we feed them and pet them and leave them.
Yeah. All right, cool. Next question is, what are your favorite and least favorite things about technology? Let's start with Sarah.
Favorite is connecting, especially now, being able to connect with my family who were all so spread out across the country. And if it weren't for technology, I literally would not have seen their faces in over a year at this point. So I love that piece. I don't like when it doesn't work for no reason at all. And it really disrupts whatever you're trying to do. So let's hope for no issues this evening.
Yes. Lisa, Karen, how about you?
She's the techie. I keep telling her, I go, "Why do we need all this stuff? You keep buying stuff. Why do we need this?" She goes, "Well, and she gives me this, "Well, we're broadening out and and then I get to hear her fuss when it doesn't come out right.
I fuss a lot. Today was one of those days where technology was definitely frustrating. So sometimes you get all these things that are supposed to work and then they don't work. So that's it. And then you have to run down to Best Buy or something and get a little cable that hooks up the other thing. And then you get home and it's not the right cable. So it's like, oh, and then you go back, talk to the guy again, or the girl sometimes. If we're lucky, we get a smart girl too. And they help us kind of figure this stuff out. And then you take it home and it still kind of doesn't work. But we're here, and it was a challenge today to get to be here, like up until the last minute. But yeah, none of it.
I'm glad it worked.
None of it. Yeah. But I love what we love about it is like I can't do shows because I'm a live performer and we tour all over the planet and we can't, and it's so good to see everybody, to be able to sing to them online. It's just amazing, and then have them talk, and that way everybody feels better during this time, so that's what I love about technology. The other part, well, I'm with Sarah and Haley. Yeah.
Haley, what about you?
I want to say my favorite part is the connection because it does really open up a lot of possibilities for people you don't really get to see. But my real favorite part is that I am wearing sweatpants right now, and I have been eating and be wearing sweatpants or pajama bottoms, and
Yeah.
you just can't beat that.
Yeah.
True story. True story.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. What is your most treasured possession? And let's
Oh,
start with
yeah.
Lisa and Karen.
Oh my gosh.
Mine would be my children and grandchildren and this person right here. They make my world go around. I just think about them and I get happy. I don't know what I would do without any of my peoples. I'd be a mess.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm a possession, but
You're a treasure.
I'm with I'm with Karen on that too. It would be my kids and her, but she's not a possession.
I cannot
Uh,
football.
other than
But
that,
yes, I can.
yeah. Other than that, it'd probably be my guitar. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good answer. Haley, how about you?
Did you say most valuable possession?
Your most treasured possession.
Treasured. Ooh. I have a lot of little knickknacks from people who have passed on. And I don't think I could pick one over the other, but just all those little things that, make my house feel more like their presence is still around. Probably.
That's lovely.
Mhm.
And Sarah?
Woo. I'm probably going to think of an even better answer after we get off this call. But right now, the thing that's coming to mind is my house. I don't own it. We live in San Diego. Let's be real. I rent. But I possess it right now. And more than ever, I'm so grateful for this sanctuary that we've created as a family. That is just our safe space that is designed in the way that we've made it all together. And it's just being stuck here for as long as we have is actually not too bad in most moments.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you all so much for your candid answers. I really appreciate it. So now we're going to get into our sort of individual questions, and we're going to start with Lisa and Karen. And one of the reasons for that is they do a live stream every Thursday night on Facebook at 7. So hopefully we'll finish up by the time it's time for them to go play. But I'm doing them first in case it goes a little long and they need to hop off. So. And also, just a quick note that if anybody's listening and they want to chat, you can chat in the text box and in the chat box, and I'll see it and I can pass on the message. Okay, so Lisa and Karen, I've known you both. I was thinking about it. I think like 25 years.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Easy.
But so it's been almost a year now of the pandemic, and you talked a little bit about it in your other answer, but tell us about when you started your weekly live on Facebook and how it's been going.
Oh, great. I started right after COVID. As soon as I could figure out the technology. I can't remember the date, but I'd like to say it was March of last year, like right after we figured that there would be like the end of March. I think it took me a few weeks or a couple of weeks to like figure out what to do. But we started then and we've been going ever since. We figured we'd stick it out until we were all back, out doing what we do, in real life, hopefully soon, hopefully at least by the end of summer,
Yeah.
maybe, but we'll just keep going, It's
So that's been every week then?
every Thursday. There's
Wow.
only been a few Thursdays that we missed because either we had another online show because lately we've been on a lot of shows and interviews for things. So it's been really exciting and, different because it's all virtual, but
Mhm.
yeah, we tried and never missed, and then we had a few, holiday breaks because, who's going to be on Christmas Day when you need to be with your family or, things like that. But mostly I think, we have 50, maybe 56 shows. I'm not too sure, but I think that might be it. Um, uh, I think so. Yeah, the archivist and um, Jules archivist is saving all of our shows for us. So we didn't ask
Oh,
Alan to do
that's
it. Yeah, and once in a while he tells us how many. Otherwise, we don't know. We
that's
just
awesome.
keep on rolling. That's
And do you find that it's I mean, it's obviously not the same as performing live, but do you think it opened up a kind of another way to connect to fans because people from everywhere can watch at the same time? Uh-oh. They may be frozen.
great.
Uh-oh, we lost them.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Here we are.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
The question?
You can repeat the question.
Y-
Yeah. So have you found that Facebook has helped bring almost a new way to connect to fans since anybody can listen at any time? Or
yeah.
even when you're live, people from all over the world can watch?
Oh, yeah, and they do, and that's a cool thing. We have somebody from Roatan was on, and North Korea. We have friends that are in North Korea, right? I mean, South Korea, not North Korea. Hello. And yeah, and people in Europe, from Canada, and over the United States come on every week, and it's just really, really neat. We get so involved in saying, "Hi, oh my gosh, you're in Ottawa or something." It's just crazy, and
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. We get carried away with it, but it's good.
yeah,
It's it's better than good, actually. It feels good.
yeah. So I want to switch gears just a little bit. And, Karen, can you talk a little bit about, being a nurse and how it's been with COVID and everything?
Oh my goodness, I haven't stopped. I mean, when COVID hit, because we're like frontliners or whatever. Although I don't work in a hospital, I'm a home health nurse. Still, it's like, I mean, in the beginning, trying to get everybody to wear their mask and keep their mask on. Oh my goodness! Oh my, hello, do you know what we're working with here? But for me and my people, we've done pretty well. Everybody's been well. No one's been any kind of, well, we had one young lady who's usually at the horse ranch and she got it, but she stayed gone for 2 weeks. But other than that, everybody's been really well. Hygiene has always been number one, but now it's just amplified. I mean, my hands stay in water so much. My daughter says it looks like you've been hitting bricks, and I tell her I'm making the bricks. Like, because my hands stay so dry. But everybody's been well. All of us have, and usually if we have to, I think we took a quick trip to Idaho.
Idaho.
And for my one house, I just did not go back for 2 weeks. And I only work like 2 days that week. So I said, well, I'll be gone and then I'll come back in 2 weeks. So it still worked out what we had to do, but where everybody's really super vigilant about, the hygiene, staying healthy, put your mask on, wash your hands. Always tell everybody, wash your hands. But yeah, it's been nonstop. So I've still been working since it started. Then I'll come home and I sing with her. So, I still get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
People,
good. I'm glad to hear that everybody's being so vigilant at your workplace and that that's going well and that you haven't gotten sick. That's great.
No.
yeah.
Um, so tell me about Daughters of the Rising Tide. I know that that's your new record.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's released yet or tell us about
No.
what's going on with that.
I was just looking at it. I was talking to somebody on the phone yesterday from San Francisco, a writer from. Anyway, long story short, yeah, we recorded it in 2019, at the end of 29. I mean, I can't believe the time's gone that fast. I did it with JT Nero, the Birds of Chicago. If you guys know that band, I don't know if you know the Birds of Chicago, but they're extraordinary. And JT produced it, and we co-wrote the whole record together. But the thing about this record is we had none of the songs prior to Karen and I showing up at the studio, except for Unicorn,
Wow.
that I sang for you guys at the Women's March. And I had called JT and said, JT, I think we should record Unicorn, which is my political love song. And he said, well, Lisa, you can't win awards with just one song. We have to do a whole record. And I said, but JT, I don't have any songs. I just have one. And he said, well, do you have bits and pieces? And I said, well, yeah, on my phone. I stop, play a little thing, and then go off. And he goes, send them to me. And so I sent him half done songs, and he started sending me half done songs. And then Karen and I went on almost a 2-month tour. And then the last day of the tour, we were in Nassau Bay, Texas, right next to NASA, and flew into Nashville. JT picked us up. We went over. He goes, here's some ideas. We put together 3 songs at Rhiannon Giddens' house, and just put them together, and then went to the studio. And he had ideas. He really knew. And when I got there, there was a band of all the people I see on YouTube that are like really cool, and they're playing on my record. And I was like, okay. So JT would get up, show him the song, and I'd be scribbling the lyrics in my notepads. And then I'd run in the booth, and he'd go, okay, this is how it goes to the band. And everybody, the drummer would go, oh, I think it needs this beat. And then Sadler Vaden, he plays with Jason Isbell. He would say, okay, I think guitar needs to be this. And then he'd pull one off the wall, and he'd do that. And Chris would play the bass. And then next thing you know, the song would kind of make itself. And I would run in the booth and sing to it while they're recording it. And then when it was done, all the guys would just throw the instruments down and run upstairs to the engineer room and sit like this. I've got pictures of them, like listening back to the song.
Wow. Oh, I think they're frozen. Oh, darn. Oh, there they are.
You're back. We stay, and then yeah. So we did 3 songs a day like that. Like at the end of the night, of 5 o'clock, we'd all eat dinner. JT would say, "Here's some ideas." I'd record them on my phone, and then he goes, "Okay, we need verses." So I'd stay up, and because we were staying at the studio, we never left for 4 days.
That was like COVID.
3 days we recorded the record, and it was done. 3 songs a day like that. I would write
Amazing.
at night, rehearse them a little bit in the morning, tell the band, and we do all the record like that. 3 days. Anyway,
That's so cool.
yeah, and I think it's some of the greatest work we've ever done. I hate to say it, but it's true, I think. But we're hoping to get it out no later than the end of this year. After all that story, I have to tell you all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know me. Yeah. But it was magic, and I cried a lot, and I felt really raw and vulnerable, and it was painful and beautiful at the same time, because I gave up complete control. No, just complete. I was decimated. I've never had that experience. Made a lot of recordings, but it's powerful.
Wow. That sounds amazing, and I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. I'll
Link
send you a
is
copy.
posted. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. I'm going to move on now to Haley. Haley White. I feel like there's a lot we can talk about, but let's start with Tower. Okay. Tell us what's going on with the Tower District in Fresno, and I know that there's a church trying to buy the theater, the Tower Theater, and that you're trying to stop that sale. And I know you've gotten some support from people like, Sarah Silverman, Audra McDonald, trying to help out. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's this, I call them a predatory church, that is trying to buy up two huge parcels right at the center of our arts and entertainment neighborhood district. And they're an evangelical church that doesn't support equal rights for gay people, but they say that they're welcoming, which means that they'll let you come into their church and then they'll try to tell you that being gay is a sin. So the LGBT community here, called them out on that right away. But the business community and the residents also have a lot at stake here, because obviously them purchasing the neighborhood and trying to evangelicalize to everybody here would change the dynamic of the neighborhood, but the zoning laws for having a church in a commercial district that has a bunch of bars and restaurants with liquor licenses, and there's other things here, like cannabis dispensaries, tattoo parlors, that sort of thing. It'll affect the actual all the businesses here in terms of the value of their businesses and whether they can renew for having future, like if they were to sell a business, a future place could keep the liquor license. It'll affect home values, things like that. So all the residents and business owners, the majority of them, there's just been a huge outcry, and it's become this thing where, we've got Proud Boys coming to our demonstrations every weekend saying everybody there is anti-God, and the left hates Jesus and stuff like that. But we've got lots of Christians on our side, lots of faith leaders actually on our side. It's actually been really weirdly beautiful show of community in terms of how many different faith groups and different types of people have banded together to fight this sale, just because this is the one safe space, unique neighborhood, not only in our county, but in several counties around us, that lots of people flock to. It's a destination spot, not just for theater and arts, but for pride festivals and things like that. So it's become my newest passion project to fight the sale and protect the business owners and protect the residents and all the stakeholders and the artists and the queer community and everybody else who needs protections from this.
So what is the latest? I mean, what is being done, and when will you have a
I
resolution?
can't hear what you're asking. I'm going to close out and pop right back in. Sorry.
Okay. 1 second, please, everybody.
Just little musical chairs popping in.
Sorry, my audio is being dumb.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can kind of hear you. I'm going to try to make.
Okay. When will you know what the outcome is? Can somebody else repeat the question in case she can't hear me and she can hear you? I put it in, oh no.
Yep. figured it'd be better to chat it. Sorry, it looked like Lisa was going to chime in, but I just typed it. We'll see if she.
Yeah, I did too.
Yay! How about now? Weird.
I put it in the chat, Haley, if that helps.
I'm not getting any audio, guys.
How about now?
I heard how about now?
Okay, so the question is, when will there be an outcome or a resolution that you know of?
Didn't hear the question.
It's in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. Let's see. I don't see anything in my chat. It might have been because I left. Can you see if I do that?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks, Sarah.
That's weird if my chat isn't working either.
Oh.
What was that question about hating technology, Lizzie?
Yeah, I heard that, and I agree.
Can you hear when will you know the outcome, Haley, of all this work being done to protect the tower? Yeah. We may never know.
So I'm going to move on to Sarah, and maybe we'll try to come back to Haley, if that's okay. We're going. Oh, she left again. All right. So Sarah, we'll get back to Haley, I promise. But Sarah, let's start with the Women's March. That happened, last month, the 23rd, I think, or something around there. It was a virtual event this year, right? So tell us, how do you think it went, and what do you envision for the future of the Women's March?
Yeah, so we start planning around like August, and I just want to get Haley settled. Haley, you're back. But I'll dive in. Yeah, so we usually plan many, many months in advance, and it was becoming clear early in 2020. We made a decision. We weren't going to host any in-person events. Smart, good. Keep everyone safe. And, as we all were biting our nails, wondering what was going to happen, it became more and more clear that an in-person march in January was just not going to be the thing. We did really want to do something to honor and commemorate the fact that these past 4 years, a lot of work has been done in 2017, and to date, the Women's March is the largest protest gathering in history. And so honoring the movement and all it's been able to accomplish with its visibility on a national and even global level, it felt wrong to not do something. This would be the 5th year. This is a positive inauguration. We've made some really big changes, not just at the top level, but on so many levels across the board. And so we wanted to do something, and virtual is the thing. And so we decided to do a virtual event, bringing together a lot of our past March speakers, past March performers. Lisa and Karen performed, and it was so great to be able to feature. I would have loved to feature their entire song, but we linked to it. But to have a diverse speaker set, diverse musical performances throughout, and really actually what I loved is our ability with this event to have longer panels. So we had 3 panels, one featuring a couple of standouts in our community who have really been the social justice warriors. I mean, there's so many, but a handful of really amazing women that have taken this pandemic and this opportunity to change the game as far as social activism in a pandemic, what that looks like. And then we had a panel around featuring the past 4 years March MCs and what their activism has looked like and what this has propelled them to do, including Nora Vargas, who's now our first female Latina county supervisor. And so being able to go in depth like that is something we can't do at the march. People are anxious to march, understandably, but also people want to know what's going on in our city, in our community, and what we care about. The final panel that I didn't mention yet was on the recently passed Measure B, which is tied to independent oversight and review of police practices and cases. And so we got to dive into Measure B passed. What's next? What does it look like? The Community Review Board was one component that is now evolving into this commission over police practices. And so to really hear those updates and being able to give the community a strong sense of what's happening around them, even though we're all in lockdown, things are still moving, positive things are still happening. And so it was a 2.5 hour event. We ended up reaching more than 7,000 people in some form or fashion. We streamed live on YouTube and Facebook. And another thing that I'm proud of is the accessibility lens that we looked through. We made sure that we had not only an ASL interpreter throughout the entire event, but on YouTube, a live captionist that was making sure that captions in real time were caught and accurate. And so just being able to reach more people in this way, people that wouldn't normally be able to leave their houses and but still want to feel involved. I'm really proud because it is kind of a litmus test for what our organization can evolve to and look like going forward.
That's great. Yeah, I think the disability and accessibility issue is a big one. And I think the pandemic has really brought that to the fore a little bit, with people being able to work from home that were maybe told in the past that they couldn't do that at their jobs. So what do you see happening in the future? Do you think next year will be an in-person march or maybe a combination?
We definitely want to, now that we know we can do some streaming in some form or fashion, like we want to be able to live stream going forward. There's just no reason not to. We've gotten, I don't even know what you call it, where you get internet boosts, figured out how to do that, our amazing logistics team. So we have the bandwidth to be able to do it going forward. But at the same time, it's really opened us up to say, well, what do we want to do year round? Because now we can do so many more events like this. We hosted a mayoral candidate forum last fall for Todd Gloria and Barbara Bree. There's so much we can do throughout the year that will amplify what's happening in our community. And so the march is one thing, and it's certainly going to continue because there's still so much to fight for. But at the same time, we can't just let that be the only thing. Education is a big part of our mission and creating grassroots activism. And so you got to do that in all sorts of ways throughout the year.
Great. Thank you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about your consulting business, which according to your LinkedIn profile says you started in July of 2020 during the pandemic. So can you tell us more about your business? And I also wanted to know, it's clearly defined that it's woman-owned, minority-owned, and LGBT-owned. So why was it important for you to identify your business that way?
Okay, yes. So I started in July, or I guess I've been dabbling. My ultimate goal, I love entrepreneurship. I love the freedom that it provides. Right now I have a full-time job and my consulting business on the side and Women's March. We are women. We wear all the hats all the time. But my biggest passion, and really what the catalyst was for this passion, is diversity, equity, and inclusion in all spaces. And so Women's March has very much shifted the ground on which I stand, tied to our systems and how we change them, and actually how much change there is to make. And I see so much opportunity within organizations too. And I just feel like there's a lot of blind leading the blind happening organizationally when it comes to these efforts, and a lot of flash in the pan response to an event, as we saw over the summer, and then no follow through. And so my consulting business focuses on two areas. One is diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting tied to long-term strategy, and not just I'll do a workshop, I'll help facilitate a conversation, but I need to know it's leading somewhere. And so I've worked within organizations to do DEI design sprints around, let's do a quick assessment and identify some quick wins, and also look at the bigger picture and some serious strategic and measurable moves you need to make. And then the other side of that coin is I'm a high performance coach, as you mentioned in my introduction. And that purpose, the reason why I wanted to get into coaching is because I saw an opportunity both in myself from being a mom, from being very present in the community, and starting to go up in my career, of burnout, of risk of just flaming out in my mid-30s and not knowing what to do from there. But I see it with so many people, but especially so many women. And this high performance coaching model is really this holistic approach to how do you find more vibrancy? How do you find more joy? How do you honor the struggle that is inevitable no matter how successful or great your life appears to be on paper? And I really want to focus on helping BIPOC women, women of color who are high achievers and are starting to hit that glass ceiling, that brick wall. And so it kind of couples together. And then your last question, I want to make sure I cover them all. And so for me, it's very important to just amplify the voices of the marginalized. And you can only do that by modeling the fullness of who you are. And so for me, I don't want to work with anyone who doesn't want to work with someone in the queer community. I don't want to work with someone who has racist tendencies, but we shouldn't want that anyways. But I want to be very upfront about who I am, what I represent. I speak for myself. I don't speak for every community that I represent, but I want to make sure that that is seen and prevalent, not just on Facebook and Instagram, but actually putting it out there on LinkedIn publicly to say, this is who I am and it's not going to change.
Awesome. Okay, give me 1 second. I have to update the stream, and hopefully that will help get Haley back on. Hold on 1 second.
We can see Haley.
Haley, can you hear us yet?
I could hear that question.
Okay. How about now?
I'm hearing you right now. Let's hope it lasts.
We are all crossing our fingers.
That's too much fun.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Karen, your name, and I said, I don't think I've met her yet. And then you said brown sugar, and I was like, oh my gosh, she is so excited to be in conversation. Both of you, with Haley, I haven't met either, but I know Lindsay for many years, and so any sister of Lindsay, so it's surely a good, wonderful person, and you've proven that already. Such a phenomenal sister.
That girl can write.
Yeah, and everything else.
Yeah, Lindsay was very excited about everyone I was on the show with today, and she's obviously a huge fan of Lizzie. So, she just had nothing but good things to say about all of you. So.
Oh my God, Lizzie! I
seem to have an easier time hearing Sarah than everyone else. I don't know why that is.
Can you all hear me again?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I can hear Haley just fine. I don't know if she hears me. So Sarah, did you hear my last question?
No. Tell me.
Okay. It's about Lily and Ruby that you co-parent with your former partner, and how are you helping them navigate all of these changes with the pandemic?
Not great. I'm trying. It's hard because you want to give them the sense of safety in a very unpredictable world, but you also have to be truthful and honest about the reality that we're all in. And I think for me, vulnerability and showing and just acknowledging when I'm going through something hard, they've seen me cry more than ever. And I'll often tell them, I'm just having a really hard time and I just need to sit here for a little bit. And then they'll just come and they'll snuggle me and they'll take care of me. And to be taken care of by your own children is just the most wonderful feeling in the world. And so I'm just trying to model humanity as best I can so that they feel like they can be their human selves too.
That's great. Thank you so much. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind kind of translating, since Haley can hear you better,
I'm happy to.
can you go ask her about the outcome for Tower one more time?
Haley, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Only you for some reason.
I'm going to be the Lizzie translator. So what we want to know is, when will we know the outcome of everything that's happening with the tower?
What was the first part about the outcome? When will we know?
Yes.
This is probably going to be, or potentially going to be, a long fight. They were already in escrow, and some of the local businesses that were lease owners, because it's 4 commercial properties. It's the Tower Theater, which is the namesake of the neighborhood, and then 3 restaurant buildings in addition to that. And so the restaurant people had in their lease a first rights of refusal, but they were not told about it. In fact, it seems very intentionally left out, and it was kind of done under the table. So they've had an injunction to fight it and hopefully get to pursue their rights of refusal. So depending on whether or not, we'll have to see what goes on with that. But if they are able to purchase the space, then we have to fight the zoning changes that will be necessary for them to have service in that spot. And that could go on forever. So we're probably in for the long haul, but we've got a lot of community members who are ready to do that if we have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Next question, Sarah, for Haley is that Haley has a podcast called Dead Folks. If she could talk a little bit about that.
I'm sorry.
No, Haley, can you tell us a little bit about your podcast, Dead Folks?
Yes. So I have a podcast with my friend Brooke Aiello. We both lost our mothers right around the same time, just a few months from each other. And I had done this grief blog for school that was not, like, I was not getting any sort of creative fulfillment from it. And I was like, what's something else I could do that would just be like a release? And Brooke and I always talk about grief. We always talk about our moms, and we thought, why don't we just try a podcast? And there's this really great group in town called CMAC, Community Media Access Collaborative, I think is what it stands for. And for $50 a year, you can have access to, they have a studio, camera equipment, editing equipment, computers, podcast room, just so much. And it's so cheap. And so I had a membership there, and we got trained really quickly on how to use podcast equipment, and just kind of started a podcast as a whim. And it's been really fun. The pandemic has kind of gotten in the way because CMAC has been closed since March of last year, but we try sometimes to just record on our phone or Zoom. But it's definitely now just sort of whenever. We might have 2 episodes right next to each other and then wait 6 months before the next one. But our joke is it's a comedy podcast about grief. So that's what we just try to poke fun at, all the crazy, absurd things about death and mourning and the funeral industry and everything else.
Ooh, that's really cool. Where can we find it? This is probably Lizzie's next question.
So Dead Folks is the name of it, and it's just anywhere podcast stream. So Apple, Spotify, Google, you can find it anywhere like that.
Okay. Thanks so much, Sarah. I'm going to wrap things up now. So if we could go around, and maybe we can start with Haley, if Sarah, you'll translate one more time, and just ask any final thing you'd like to share.
Haley, we're going to wrap up. Are there any final things you want to share with our audience?
No, I'm not really working on, something actually that I do have coming up. Every year, Fresno does something called Rogue Festival, and it's basically like our Fringe Festival, and they're doing a virtual version this year because of the pandemic, and if you go to Rogue Festival or follow the Fools Collaborative, which is my group, on any social media, we do Drunk Shakespeare, and we basically take a Shakespeare play, we cut it down, we add improv and current events and things, and then we have one drunk person. And we've done one virtual one before, so we figured out how to make it work. It's a lot of fun. It's ridiculous, but it's also a good way to get out like a lot of my political and social angst in a way that's funny and people can digest. But first 2 weekends of March is when that will be.
Wow.
Very cool. I just shared the link in the Twitch chat, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right. How about Lisa and Karen?
What we're doing next?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have the International Folk Alliance coming, and this year their thing is diversity, and finally the folk community is letting Black folks sing.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Other than spirituals or yeah. So we've been invited by a radio station to have a couple of showcases, so we're really excited about that. And for the first time ever, it's available for all over the world. You can just see the link and see all the acts that are there. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And when is that?
That's going to be the 22nd through the 26th, I think, of this month. So.
And we're on what days?
We're on 23rd and the 25th.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And Sarah, how about you?
Yes, thank you for asking. I am hosting a webinar this next month called The Science of High Performance, Maintaining Momentum During the Pandemic, because we are all very much struggling with this, and it doesn't have to be that way. So going through the 6 secrets of high performers and just some habits and strategies that are going to keep you from going insane and getting the things done that you need to, but also chipping away at your big dream. And so I'll post the links there, and I know, Lizzie, you're going to put together some show notes. I'll send that over to you. But thank you for the opportunity to be here and to share a part of myself.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to thank guests, Sarah, Lisa Sanders, Karen Hayes, and Haley White. Thank you all so much for being here and telling us what your life beats are, what's bringing purpose to your life right now. For everyone who's listening, I'm going to be switching up the frequency of the show. It's now going to be quarterly, so the next episode will be in April. And check Facebook and Instagram and Twitter for who my guests will be in April. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great night.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.